All right, I want to welcome everybody that may be out there tonight watching us remotely to the Watertown City Council meeting for April 21 of 2020. We're glad that you are with us remotely. We wish you could be here in person. This is a somewhat historic meeting because for the first time ever, I think, the public will not be in attendance here at this meeting, and that is because of the circumstances of this virus that we've all been dealing with for the last few weeks. I will tell you that those present here tonight are observing the social distancing rule. We have spread out around the room. Brandy, you need to mute your phone, please. Brandy, I need you to mute your phone. Okay, thank you. As I was saying, we are observing the social distancing rule. Under the governor's executive order number 16, it was suspended the requirements of the Open Meetings Act. It allows members council persons to participate and vote electronically. The order says that the government must make a reasonable effort to ensure that the public may access the meeting live via electronic means. All participating electronically or otherwise should be able to hear each other simultaneously and speak to each other during the meeting. To make all this happen, we are very much indebted to our IT consultant, Chris Andrews, and his assistant, Grant Irons, who are here kind of serving as the producer and director of this show this evening. Also, I will say to you that Executive Order 16 of the governor says that government is essential business. The President's guidelines, the Center for Disease Control, and the governor's Executive Order number 22 says that you should avoid social gatherings of 10 or more people. I think it's been lost in the discussion that it talks about social gatherings. This is not really considered a social gathering, but I will tell you that there are only 9 people in this room, so we are not violating that rule in any way. As I said, the Executive Order number 22 also says that government entities are considered essential services. Tonight we do have less than 10 people. None of these people are required to be here. In fact, they could leave right now if they wish, as long as they participate remotely. The 2 IT guys I mentioned are pretty much necessary, and I have to be here to chair the meeting. This is considered an essential meeting. All others have been canceled or rescheduled of the city. We have not had a planning commission meeting, a board of zoning appeals meeting, a historic preservation committee meeting, a city court, or traffic school while this has been pending. But the city council is required to meet once a month. That is by the Watertown City Charter, and you can look that up in section 6 if you would like. So I am not crazy for having a meeting, as some around town I've been told have said. I'm not crazy, I'm following the law, and as I said, nobody here has to be here if they don't want to be, other than the 3 I've talked about. So having said that, we'll go ahead and let me say that we have a full house here. I will introduce to you that remotely participating tonight are Councilperson Katie Smith and Councilperson Brandy Baird Holcomb. With us in person are Councilperson Hal Roberts, Tony Lee, Christy Cantrell, and Vice Mayor Brandon Howard. So we have a full complement of board members tonight, council members, I guess I should say. And if they will recall, at our last meeting, we recessed to the call of the chairman. So I'm going to call the March meeting back to order solely for the purpose of adjourning. So if someone will give me a motion and a second to adjourn, I would appreciate that.
Make motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I got 2 motions. I'm going to take one of them as a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Now we'll go to our April meeting and call it to order. I've already identified those who are present, and nothing has changed. Nobody's cut and run up to this point. It's at this point in our meeting that we always have our prayer and pledge, so if you'll bow with me, we'll have a word of prayer before we go any further. Our dear Father, we're thankful for the opportunity to gather here today in a free country. We're thankful for the beautiful weather you've given us, and we thank you for the health and safety of our citizens in Watertown. We pray that you'll continue to be with them, bless this community, bless our employees, bless all those that are on the front lines. We usually talk about those in the military, and we certainly don't want to forget to lift them up tonight, but we want to remember those especially on the front lines here in hospitals and that are responding in emergency services. We just pray that you'll be with them, strengthen them, keep them safe from harm. We ask now that you'll go with us during this meeting and forgive us of our many sins. Amen. Now we have two young members of our group that are here with us from time to time, but they are remote tonight with their mother, Brandy Baird Holcomb. But we have Brindley Holcomb and Jackson Holcomb who will lead us to the pledge. So we're going to stand and say the pledge to the flag. Y'all ready?
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Brindley and Jackson, thank you. How old are you, Brindley?
6,
Jackson, how old are you?
7,
7. So you are Brindley's older brother, right?
yes sir.
Okay. Well, y'all did a good job, and thank you for helping us with that. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Y'all have a good evening. All right. We have approval of our March 17, 2020 minutes. Do I hear a motion on those? I've got a motion by Christy Cantrell. Councilperson having to say that is a mouthful, so I don't mean any disrespect, but I'm going to call everybody by their first name because we all know each other anyway. So, Christy Cantrell made the motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, Hal Roberts has seconded. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Katie and Brandy, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. That executive order requires that anything we vote on has to be by a roll call. So I'm just going to call a roll each time. So I'll call Brandy. If you approve the minutes, say aye. If you don't, say no. Brandy?
Approved, yes.
Okay. Katie?
Yes.
Hal?
Yes.
Tony? Aye. Christy?
Y'all got confused now.
Brandon?
Yes.
And I vote aye. The minutes are approved unanimously. All right. Those that normally attend our meetings or have attended some in the past know that we usually go to public business at this point in time. We can't do that tonight, obviously, but I did send out on Facebook and also emails asking that if you had any public business that you let us know before tonight so that we could bring it up. I did not receive anything from anybody, so I'm assuming that I don't have any public business to go into tonight. This is the portion of the meeting also that we have reports from our police chief, sewer contractor, and fire chief. Tonight, we rotate these. Tonight, first would have been Chief Bill Laney, a police chief. Of course, they are not here tonight, but they have given all of us written reports. Chief Laney has given us the report for the month of March. It looks to be pretty standard, and it looks like, just quick math in my head, it looks like we probably drove 3,000 or 3,100 miles during the month of March, so it looks out that we patrol about 100 miles a day. and night. So, does anybody around the table, or Brandy or Katie, have any questions about that or comments? Okay, okay. Hearing none, I'll go on to the sewer report. Dale gave us a pretty good sized report this evening. And most of that includes the tentative plans we've gotten for the sewer project that we've been talking about now for about a year. But in his, and I'll say this for members of the public that are watching, he has given us a report that says he's ordered a new circuit board for the composite sampler at a price of just under $500. The existing circuit board had a bad resistor, and we needed that to keep the refrigeration unit operating properly. Our engineering firm is close to completing the designs for the collection rehab project. And he has asked me to mention again, and I put it in my report, that it'll be coming out tomorrow in the Edge. It may be out tonight, I'm not sure. But we continue to have a problem with wipes in the collection system. We really would stress to the public and request your assistance that you not place disinfecting wipes, paper towels, baby wipes, towelettes, or mop refills in the sewer. It creates problems for us and creates additional expense. So we'd ask your cooperation on that. Does anybody have any questions on the sewer report?
Mr. Mayor, I think we ought to copy, remember how many water meters we got, and send out one of these to every household.
Okay. All right.
I can't hear Tony.
I'm sorry?
I can't hear what Tony's saying. I can hear that it's Tony, but I can't tell what he's saying.
I was saying that I believe that we should make a copy of that announcement that I guess sewer man gave us, and probably hand deliver one to each household in town. Really get the message across.
Were you able to hear him?
Well, not very well at all. I can hear you really well, Mike, but I can't hear Tony. Is it all supposed to be going into one microphone?
Yeah, the phone we're using is mine, Katie. It's right in front of me. Tony is saying that he would like for us to take the information that Dale's given us. He's given a kind of a handout here, and he would like for us to get one of these to every sewer and water operator in the city. So we'll try to do that. Water bills went out today, so we missed that opportunity today, but we'll do that. And Dale also wants to put up some signs in some places, so I think we can do that. I think that's
a really good investment, and I get mailers all the time about sending out mailers to every household. I haven't done it, but there are companies that do it. I'm sure we could get something printed and dropped off in every mailbox, and maybe do it twice to make sure that it starts to stick in people's minds, because it's an expensive problem that we keep having.
If you would let me know, if you could let somebody over here know who those companies are, it might be easier for us to do that than it would be to have our guys walk all over town putting them in doors and mailboxes. So if you would do that, that sounds like a good possibility.
Okay, great.
Anybody else got any comments on the sewer report? Okay, hearing none, I'll move on to the fire report. This is normally where Chief Blake Hahn would be here. Let me say, Chief Hahn has given us some information as well. The Watertown Fire Department handled 52 calls during the month of March, of which 42 were in the county and 10 were in the city. He says in his written report that they have suspended their overnight staffing program for the month of April and doing their doing their training by video and online training. He has scheduled a rookie firefighter class that began last night. The first 2 weeks will be by lectures and video conference, and then after that they will have some skills instruction. and that would be post May the 1st is what his report says. You may be glad to hear this, that our plan, he says, is to conduct the May fish fry. The planning and preparation has been set in place to provide walk-up, in-town delivery, and drive-up services. So hopefully we'll be able to do that the first Saturday night in May, or first Saturday, I guess, in May. And then he concludes by saying he has 22 members on the Watertown Volunteer Fire Department roster. Firefighter Stephen Adams has been promoted to lieutenant. Chadwick Flores has been promoted to captain. And their current leadership is Chief Blake Hahn, Assistant Chief Joseph Decker, Captain Chadwick Flores, Lieutenant Barry Shimwell, Lieutenant Justin Dillard, and Lieutenant Stephen Adams. And he says these men do a wonderful job, and I am honored to have them on our department, and I would second that. Anybody have any questions about the fire report or comments or whatever?
I do.
Okay.
When I read this to prepare for the meeting, I have to say I was really struck, and I'm really grateful for the degree to which the fire department is attempting to reduce exposure to COVID-19 and the way that they're adjusting their operations to the degree possible. I really am grateful.
Yes. Okay. Any other comments, questions? All right. Hearing none, we'll move on to, that would have concluded the report part of our meeting tonight. Normally these folks appear in front of us, so I'm sorry they weren't able to do that. I just have a couple of items of old business that shouldn't take very long at all. We talked last time about possibly presenting a U-turn ordinance to put into effect here, but I found out in reviewing the code in preparation for this meeting, we already have a U-turn ordinance, and it's been on the books for some time. So there's no need to go any further with that, but we do have that. So the moral of that story is don't be making U-turns in Watertown if you can help it. Well, just don't do it. You run the risk of being ticketed. The other thing we talked briefly about already is the sewer project. I have talked with our engineer, and as soon as we can schedule that meeting, possibly as early as next week, they want to meet with Dale and Bob and myself to talk about how to go forward on bidding the sewer project. So should have something to report to you in a couple of weeks maybe, and I'll do that by email and try to keep you informed of where we are on that. Have some items. Well, first of all, let me ask, does anybody have any comments or anything, questions about either of those items? Anybody remotely? Okay.
I have a question.
All right.
I keep forgetting to unmute myself. Are there full-size copies of the plan at the City Hall? It was really hard to try to make that big enough to be able to interpret what was in the document.
Yes, there are 3 copies here.
Okay, so I could stop by and borrow one maybe?
Sure. Sure, and I'm sure we can get more. If everybody would like to have a copy, I'll just ask Steve Jones to send us about 4 more copies out. And that way you won't have to trade it around or whatever.
I don't know that I need to possess it.
Okay.
I just wanted to take a look.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Well, they're here at City Hall.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, we'll go to items of new business. First of all, I've had a request from the election coordinator, Philip Warren. I hope I've gotten his title right. They want to use the community center for voting this year. They want to use it for early voting from July 17 to August 1, and they would have to set up on July 16. They want to use it on Election Day, which is August 6, and they would set up on August 5. They would use it again for early voting from October 14 to October 29, setting up on October 13, and then election day, November 3rd, and that setup would be on November 2nd. Philip told me they would take care of cleaning it, they would take care of all the upkeep and everything that has to be done during that period of time, and of course they want nobody, and nobody can be back here except those working in the election during that time. So I have no problem recommending that to you, that we make the community center available for voting without going through those dates again. Okay? Go ahead, Katie.
I know that in the past for early voting, we've used that small room out front. Are they wanting to be in the main room where we meet?
Yes. Yes, they want to be here because it's got more room, and he told me they really liked the way they could set up here. They have a kitchen here, of course, restrooms available to them, and yeah, so they want, that's where they want to set up, and we should have two fairly large elections this year. November will be the presidential election, and August will be the primaries for state representative, and also some general election for school board members. And keep in mind that people can vote anywhere in the county now, not just if you live in Watertown, you don't have to vote here. Likewise, if you live in Gladeville, you can vote in Watertown if you happen to be up here or want to drive up here. So it could be two pretty good size elections. Other comments?
So, the only one of these that would require us to move our meeting is the September video. So, will we just reschedule or have it somewhere else?
Yeah, that's the only problem about it. Did you say September?
I think in October.
It will be,
Yeah, the others don't overlap.
not September.
But September does.
No, it'd be July and October that would be affected.
October?
Yeah. They want early voting from October 14 to October 29, and election day is November 3rd.
Oh, I don't think, I was writing it down and said I think we skipped over the early voting in October.
Okay.
Or I didn't get it down. But, so it's not September 14th to 29th, it's October.
Yes, I never said anything about September.
Okay, so, and then in October, the 14th through the 29th definitely overlaps the 13th day.
It will, and I think, does July overlap as well?
I didn't hear July's dates.
July
It
17th?
actually just misses, let me go back and double check.
Okay.
No, it overlaps also, you're right, I was looking at the wrong one.
Yeah, it would.
It overlaps also.
We would have to move our meeting, we would have to move it forward both months, possibly to the second Tuesday night. Other comments, questions? Okay, as I said, go ahead.
The second Tuesday in October is actually the 13th, which is the setup day for that big window.
Okay.
I'm fine with them using the space, I know we've had issues about moving meetings around before.
Yeah, we have. Well, I mean, it'll require us to move it if we allow them to use July and October. Comments, questions? Anybody?
I move that we approve the use of the community center for the voting on those dates as requested, and that we move our meeting to accommodate.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second. The motion is from Katie Smith. The second is from Brandon Howard. Now discussion. Okay, are we ready to vote? Okay. I'm going to call the roll. Brandy,
I vote yes.
Howell,
Yes.
Tony,
Aye.
Katie,
Aye.
Christie,
Aye.
Brandon,
Yes.
and I vote aye. It's unanimous. That's approved 7-0, and I'll let Philip Warren know in the morning that that's been approved, and we'll work on those meeting dates. I have another item of new business tonight. I'm proposing an ordinance to amend the ordinance that sets up the distance requirement for the sale of alcohol on the square. I am not proposing to change the distance of 250 feet, but I am proposing an exception, and it reads as follows. Any establishment engaging in the business of selling, storing, transporting, distributing, or purchasing or possessing alcoholic beverages within the corporate limits of Watertown shall be exempt from Watertown Municipal Code, and that's the provision of the distance, if they meet both of the following provisions. 1, if the main entrance of the establishment building fronts and opens up to East Main Street. This main entrance must be the primary entrance to the building. And 2nd, the business operating in the building must regularly sell more than 50% of food products in its total sales, subject to reporting this to the City of Watertown on a quarterly basis, and allowing an unauthorized representative of the City of Watertown to inspect the premises. Authorized representative to inspect the premises. Yeah, it was a misreading, wasn't it? I have no trouble recommending that to you. I think it opens up an area a little bit more there off of the square that does not interfere with any church, school, funeral home, and it is out of sight and out of view of the public library. So I'm recommending this ordinance to you on first reading.
Do we have any establishments that fall under this, that are wanting to open, that need this?
We have, yes, we have 2 and perhaps 3, depending on the distance, and I've not measured the distance, but 2 or perhaps 3 that it would open the possibility up for them, provided they meet the requirement of food sales. And keep in mind, that's East Main Street now. That's not West Main or anywhere else on the square. That's opening up on East Main Street. You already have some businesses that already meet that already have some form of liquor license or beer license. So it just opens up the area a little more.
Between Mona Lisa and the beginning of the square, basically.
Yes. Yeah. That's correct. And I know there are a couple other buildings on the east side of you, but I don't know, what the potential is there or anything like that.
Outside, on the east side of me, but they're outside of the 250-foot limit.
Yeah, that's right. That's correct. So they wouldn't need the exception. You're correct.
No, but they would have it if there were a church or whatever. But it says specifically in the business district.
Yes, and it doesn't affect anything else. We already had a prohibition on liquor stores in the central business district, so it does not affect that at all.
And we're just measuring distance from the library, right?
Yeah, and it's from the front door to the front door.
But the library is the only one the library is the only other thing, like a church or anything like that.
Brandon was asking if the library is the only thing that is close that we're talking about, and I think it is. I think everything else is far enough away from the Church of God, and I guess the next closest one would be First Baptist. Okay.
It is. The only thing that it would matter for is if we wanted to extend this opportunity to the West Main side of the square, and then First Baptist would be close.
And the funeral home. Yeah,
Is that in the list of exclusions?
it is. Community center, church or religious building, public library, hospital, funeral parlor, or public recreation area.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, I think
Make a motion to approve this.
Brandon Howard has make a motion to approve this on first reading. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion from Brandon, a second from Katie. Is there discussion?
Question,
All right.
Go ahead, Katie.
question
I
is,
think this is really wise to support business in the business district. It will make a big difference in the tax revenues. And we've seen so far that things are managed responsibly, and I'm encouraged.
Okay. Tony Lee was about to make a comment as well.
my question was the, melting block, the building opens up on the corner.
There is a door that opens up on East Main Street that would have to be made the primary entrance.
What did Tony say?
Tony asked about the Melton door opening up onto the public square, but the owner there has put in another door on the side that opens up on the East Main Street. It would have to be designated the main entrance.
That door, yeah, there's actually a door there already.
Yeah,
It's been there.
yeah, that's what I said.
Just so I'm clear,
Do what?
just so I'm clear on the amendment, we're not changing the distance, and I've got that, but what we are changing is that the entrance door must open up onto East Main Street and be a primary entrance. That's the amendment that we're making, correct?
That's
If I read
correct.
it correctly?
That's correct.
I actually think that, so the distance isn't changing except if your main entrance is on East Main Street.
I didn't understand
Okay.
everything you said. Say that again, please.
Okay, so Brandy, the Melton Block building, the door on the East Main side, that's technically within 250 feet straight line of the library front door. But this, the way this is written, would release them. They would be exempt from that 250-foot rule.
They have to make that their primary entrance.
If they make that their primary entrance.
And they are selling at least 50% of their revenue from food.
That's correct.
You see what I'm saying, Brandy? I do. I'm just going to figure out, are they changing what their main entrance door is, or are we changing our ordinance so that their main entrance can be exempt?
No, they would have to,
Well, they don't really have an entrance on that building right now because it's just been under construction. But on that corner, I don't know, would that corner door count, Mike? That one that opens sort of diagonally?
no. No, I've discussed that with the owner, and he understands that the primary entrance will have to be the door opening up onto East Main Street.
Okay. And would that primary door on East Main be outside of the 250 feet?
No,
It is not.
no. One of the concerns that I've always had was to maintain the integrity of our square. And many of you have heard me say this, and I'll say it again. I did not want a beer joint or a tavern going in on the square where people, women would take their kids, or not to the tavern or the beer joint, but to the library, and have to walk by a tavern or a beer joint to take their kids to the public library. The way we have it now with our distance requirement, it prohibits that. But it also punishes those people that are out of sight of the library. And I felt like this is a good compromise to allow them the opportunity to increase their business but still we maintain the integrity of the public square. And so that is the reason I have no problem recommending it. If we were doing any harm to the public square, I would not recommend it.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
All right, other comments, questions? All right, hearing none, we've got a motion to approve this on first reading by Brandon, a second by Katie, and I'm going to call the roll. Brandy?
Aye.
Hal? Tony? Katie?
Aye.
Christie? Brandon? And I vote aye. It's unanimous. It will be back before us on second reading at our May meeting. Let me discuss with you briefly your budget report. Let me say to you, very similar to what Mayor Hutto reported last night for the county, we are well equipped to handle a downturn, at least temporarily, in sales tax and other revenues if we have to. I'm very optimistic that that downturn will be very slight, but we are in good shape. Our budget is in good shape. We have collected 80% of our general fund revenues to date through the end of March. We have only spent 60.5% of our allotted expenditures, so we're in good shape. The Parks and Recreation Fund is in good shape. The Water and Sewer Fund continues to not bring in the sales that I budgeted, but we are in a position that we will overcome the difference in the expenditures and the revenues, and certainly there is one transfer from the general fund that was budgeted, and when we put that over there, and that will be done Friday, we will be back in good shape there. So we are well equipped to handle these things. I hope that folks that are operating their businesses, like Katie, I hope that their business will grow, and I hope that they'll soon be back open and back to normal, if there is such a thing as normal. But the budget report is good, and I don't anticipate any type of revenue needs in the next budget. I will tell you that the increased sales tax will start May 1st, so we will have a couple of those, well, we really won't because they delay behind. The first couple of months of the sales tax will probably show up on next year's revenues. But at any event, that's money we didn't budget for, so we can't miss what we don't have. So we're in good shape there.
Question, Mayor?
Yes.
So, are we on, I know that 80% of revenues are in, and we've only spent in the 60% range on expenses. But I also know you've told us before that the revenues tend to come in mainly at property tax time.
That's true.
Are we about on track where we've been in past years? There's no reason to expect a downturn in revenues in this last part.
We could suffer a little bit the last 3 months if the sales tax drops a little bit, because not only will our local sales tax drop a little bit, but our state sales tax, the portion that we get, would drop a little bit. Now, having said that, there is some discussion, as I understand it, from the, at least preliminarily among the legislators, that they might, the state may reimburse some of that money. So we could get some of that back. I don't, do I think we'll get to 100% of our revenues? No, I don't. Do I think that we'll be okay? I certainly do.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
What is the last sales tax report that you got from the state?
Tony has asked what was the last sales tax report I got from the state, and I haven't looked at that in a couple of months, so I don't know the answer to that, Tony. But it won't have any of the downturn it should be the May will have some of the downturn on it. Not this month, but next month,
So
No.
May would be for February.
March. And, of course, the county will be affected more in City of Lebanon and Mount Juliet because of their, tornado damage. It may not affect us as much, but
Yeah, I don't expect it to affect us that much at all.
I wouldn't think so.
Our largest sales tax is probably dollar store, and I think they've been doing pretty well.
Yeah.
On the shelves.
Dollar store and 3/4.
3/4, they've been booming.
Yeah. We had a little discussion around here about our sales tax, and some of our biggest sales tax producers, Tony and Brandon, were saying they seem to be doing very well during these times. So hopefully with the downturn, as I said, will be minimal if at all. But I think we're okay. And if anything changes, I'll certainly let you know that.
Sure. I
Okay.
just didn't know what the flow generally was.
I'm sorry, Katie, I didn't understand you.
I said, yeah, okay, yes. I just didn't know what the flow pattern generally was.
I don't know that I can speak on that because I didn't look for the last few years.
Okay. I think you've answered my question. I was saying thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the only other thing I was going to mention to you tonight is the guys with the IT stuff here had told me about some things we needed if this should continue. We're operating on their equipment tonight, and so I've ordered some things that will help us if we have to continue doing this, that we can use our equipment, and also that we can record these meetings with. But as I was looking today, reviewing the governor's orders that he's issued the last few weeks, his order for these type of meetings expires at 12:01 a.m. on May 18, and our next meeting is not till May 19. So it could be that we all gather together as normal on May 19, although I think there's still several things to happen between now and then to see whether that gets extended or not. And my personal thought is that governmental things may be the last thing to open. I think they're really trying to get private businesses and private industry open. So either way, we can handle it.
Well, also,
Yes.
if you've ordered the equipment, I think that's great. If we're going to take any lessons from the 1918 flu pandemic, there's a second wave that comes as things get reopened, and I'm sure that if we go back to in-person meetings, there's a large chance we'll have to have remote meetings again at some point.
Yeah, that could very well be, Katie. I don't think anybody knows, but I will tell you that I am told the city of Lebanon's looking at perhaps phasing in a reopening of their governmental buildings. I think they're going to talk about that tomorrow. The county is having some preliminary discussions about how we're going to do it. I have to tell you, I think keeping the city hall closed has worked out very well for us here. And if we need to keep it closed for a while and continue operating the way we have, I certainly don't have any problem with that. So we'll be careful. Last thing I want is for anybody to get sick. And I think we've been very fortunate up here, from what I understand. I'm on the COVID-19 task force that meets once a week for Wilson County by phone, and along with several medical people and others. And we seem to be doing very well in the county, keeping our numbers down, especially when you consider how much of our county is right on the border with Nashville. So still a lot of ground to be plowed, I think. Any other comments, questions? Okay,
If you're
that
talking about
yes,
COVID-19,
yes.
so I understand that the governor has said he's not going to renew the stay-at-home order, but I know that it's going to be continued in Nashville, and I haven't looked at other large cities to see what they're doing. Is there any consideration, can we make any consideration about considering, continuing it here. I feel like we are putting a lot of people at risk for very little potential gain. And I would love it if we could extend the stay-at-home order here.
Well, we don't have a stay-at-home order here. The governor has issued a stay-at-home order. I never issued an order,
Right.
frankly, because I don't think the mayor of Watertown has the authority to tell people to stay at home. I really don't. And, you know, I was told that I needed to shut down churches, and that ain't gonna happen. You know, I think our people have done
Told that you needed to do what?
to shut down church services, and that's not going to happen. I think our churches have done a very good job of having services and dealing with this. The drive-in's been a great help. The Church of God has done drive-in at their church, and a lot of people are doing it remotely. So I think people here have pretty much adjusted and done pretty well. I would encourage them and continue to encourage them to you know, follow the guidelines, but I didn't issue an order, and I don't have a plan to issue an order. Okay, any other comments, questions? All right, that's all the new business I had. Informational items, we will meet again. Our next meeting will be May the 19th at 6 o'clock p.m. I will ask you to, tonight, when we leave again, let's recess in case something changes like we've been talking about. If something goes the other way and we need to deal with things, we will. And I would call you back into session for that. But frankly, the guidelines that are coming down are changing almost daily. You get something from the federal government, you get something from the Center for Disease Control, you get something from the state, and so it's you know, I deal with it every day, questions from somebody. So I'd like to, when we leave tonight, to recess so that we can have the opportunity to gather back on very short notice if it becomes necessary. But it's not time to recess yet, because it's time to go around the table. So Brandy, I'll start with you like we always do.
Okay, you got me?
I do.
Well, first, I would like to say thanks to the guys that are streaming the meeting. I know they're taking time out of their schedule to do that, so I appreciate that. I appreciate you for your caution, your service, and I want to thank all those that are out there serving in the middle of this virus. But I would like to have a special recognition tonight, if I may, for the seniors at Watertown High School. I guess really all seniors across the Wilson County. I know this is not how any of them envisioned the spring of their senior year to go. So I just want to publicly recognize those seniors in Wilson County.
Good point.
I think that's all I have, and thank you guys for giving me the option to be here remotely.
Well, we appreciate you joining in, and let me say something to go along with the seniors there. Don't give up on graduation. My understanding from the Board of Education is that graduation has not been canceled, and there is still great hope that graduation ceremonies can be held across the county at some point this summer. I don't have any inside information, any dates. I just know that they want to do that, and I have heard Dr. Wright say that as well. So I'm hopeful that that will happen. All right. Hal?
Mr. Mayor, we've got a dog problem in town. On my street, 2 days ago, we had loose dogs, we had people out walking their dogs, and we had a big fight right up my street. And the Williamses over there's got 3 dogs, and Helen Locke's got 3, and they're turning them loose on their end of town, and we're putting up with them. And I'm talking about big dogs. And it's some others that I don't know who they are. And we gonna really have a mess if we don't, stop it now. And we've got a leash law, and if I'm not mistaken, it says if you carry a dog outside, he's gotta be on a leash, and if he's left outside, he's gotta be in a pound or a pen that will control him.
We do have that, and we also contract with the Wilson County Animal Control, so they serve our area as well as the county. So feel free to call them.
What is he saying?
Okay, Hal was talking about a dog problem on the east end of town, about the number of dogs that are running free or that are being walked, the people that have numerous dogs, and he was talking about the leash law, about if you walk your dog, it's got to be on a leash, and if the dog is running free, it's got to be in a pound, cage, pen, something on your property. I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about anybody that's got a dog. And what I just said to him is we contract with Wilson County Animal Control, and Mary Scruggs, who is the wife of our commissioner, or one of our commissioners, Terry Scruggs, is the head of animal control. So I think if we will call them, they'll be glad to come and deal with it, help deal with that. So please, and I'm sorry I don't remember the number offhand, but it's Wilson County Animal Control, and their office is out at the same place as the landfill. So, what else, Hal?
That's all I have.
Tony?
I don't have anything that needs to be discussed here.
All right. The issue that you contacted me about, Mr. Morgan went over there today and had some discussions.
Good.
I'll be glad to tell you when we go off air. Katie? Tony didn't have anything.
No, I don't either.
Okay. Christy?
I'm good.
You good? All right. Christy doesn't. And Brandon?
The only thing I got is excuse me, it's allergies got my voice, but the playground, getting ready for the playground. You know, since we're not able to play on the playground right now, I think it would be a good opportunity to remove that old playground equipment.
You ready for that to be done?
Yes, sir.
I'll be glad to get them on that, Brandon. They have been rebuilding this bridge here. It was in pretty bad shape, and the guy's been over there 2 or 3 days, and Bob told me today, I won't use all of the words that Bob used, but he's gonna finish it tomorrow. And then he's gonna take care of a problem that Tony discussed with me yesterday, and then I'll ask him to get started on that then.
Be good. Other than that, we have got the finances in for the playground, so we're just gonna work with the contractors until we get.
I sent Mr. D an email yesterday, and he said talk to you. So I think we're just waiting for everything to come together.
Because we're getting kids asking questions.
Yep.
I was gonna be here.
Let me. Do you have anything else? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Let me say again, and certainly to those that are out there in the public that might be watching, I have called everybody by their first name tonight, and that means no disrespect. We all know each other. I think we all appreciate each other. I know this is a fine group of people to serve with, that it's been a pleasure to serve with them. So if you're sitting out there tonight saying, well, that's sort of tacky that the mayor's calling them by the first name, just chalk that up to the mayor. Just chalk him up as being tacky. But these are good folks, and I appreciate them. But we've come to that point in the meeting that if y'all are ready, I would like somebody. Yes, Tony's got something.
Another thing on the playground equipment, talking about removing it, did we ever decide what we were going to do with it? I know that Alexandria wanted to maybe purchase it.
We hadn't decided on that. We need to talk about that probably at our next meeting.
The slide has been asked for by the people who's putting in the equipment to go into the museum. It's one of the first pieces we haven't made no deal with them, but they asked for that.
All right. Katie and Brandy, Tony had asked about the old equipment in the playground when we tear it down. There had been interest expressed by the city of Alexandria in purchasing that, and he asked if we'd made a decision. We haven't, and so that probably needs to be on the May agenda. And then Brandon said that the old slide over here, the people that are putting in the playground equipment have asked to have it to put in their museum, and we hadn't made a decision on that either. So
It was one of the first pieces of equipment they sold, they said.
he said it was one of the first pieces of equipment they sold. I hope I'm not repeating something y'all have already heard, but Brandon said it was one of the first pieces that they had sold. So that's something we probably need to have on our May 19 agenda. And I guess
Well,
I need.
Did I hear Brandon talking about wanting to go ahead and take the equipment out?
Yes, yes.
So maybe, could we not discuss it now and decide so that when it comes out, it can go where it needs to go?
Well, I guess we could. What are you suggesting?
It seems to me that it would be great for that equipment to go on and be used in Alexandria if there's a need.
My thinking was,
Can we
if
not?
they wanted to purchase it, they could take it apart and haul it.
Did you hear that?
No.
Tony said his thinking was that if they wanted to purchase it, they could come down and take it apart.
Absolutely. I mean, if our insurance will cover that.
I don't know. I mean, there's already a couple of questions here. We need to know what they're willing to pay for it, I guess. And then if they want to come down and take it down. So I guess I need to open up some dialogue with the mayor of Alexandria and see what they want, what they're willing to do.
But if we do that,
Yes.
it's gonna push delay that till the 17th of May. It's gonna push us getting it out of the ground.
Brennan says if we do that, it's going to delay us getting it out of the ground. That's a good point.
As far as having, I want the city of Alexandria to have it too, but I feel like they're gonna have to bring their equipment down from Alexandria to move that,
Yeah.
The way we're gonna use the backhoes and bobcats to get that up out of the ground and stuff. I just think it might prolong the getting it out and getting it ready to go, because I can guarantee, like most companies, that, because we haven't paid them all that money, they're gonna want to put that park in there as soon as they get the green light, or we give them a green light to go. And I would like to have it operational before the end of summer.
Oh, certainly, if everything opens up.
Yeah.
Well, why don't I do this? Why don't I explore some of these questions, and if there's a need, I'll call y'all back into session and we'll deal with that.
Great.
Will that work, Brandon?
Yeah,
Tony?
of course.
Okay. All right, anything else? All right, if not, I'd like to have a motion. I'm sorry?
I was just about to make that motion that we recess the meeting.
Good, all right. Is there a second?
So moved.
All right, we got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Okay, meeting is adjourned. Thank you for everybody that participated tonight and watched in. And hope you have a good evening and stay safe and healthy.